Are you making assumptions about how your managed IT provider is protecting your environment? In this video, I'm going to help you understand the differences between managed IT services and cybersecurity services and how they work together and how they differ. Hello, and welcome to this video series that helps you navigate critical IT decisions and use IT services to your advantage. I'm Justin Eckstein, and I bring about 2 decades of IT experience to the table, about half of which has been spent deep in the world of managed IT services. Over the years, technology has become increasingly more complex and more intertwined with our day-to-day lives, and with that, our businesses have gone digital, and now we need to understand how to protect our biggest asset, and that is our data. You might have a managed IT provider today, but what are they doing to protect you, and how does it all fit together? Let's start with the basics. Patch management. When you think about the evolution of managed IT services over time, providing updates to things like computers and servers were really one of the first benefits. 20 years ago, things like our computers and our servers were critical resources to our businesses, and we needed to keep our software up to date for it to continue to even work properly. And a managed IT provider generally brought value by helping to automate and manage those updates, because otherwise it was just kind of a huge task. But over time, our focus has shifted to the cloud. We've started moving our workloads to things like SharePoint, and we work with QuickBooks Online. We rely more than ever on connectivity and having 24/7 access to our data, and that's just kind of changed where our data lives. With accessibility comes risk. So the bad guys are out there, and they have the same access to the cloud as you do, if you think about it. If you aren't taking the proper measures to install patches on workstations, servers, or better yet, all of the other critical devices on your network, you're running a risk of a breach. Managed IT service providers are using a set of tools to help manage and deploy patches, and it's more complex than ever. Think about not just your computers, but all your firewalls, your network switches, your wireless access points, and all of the other smart devices that you have in your network, even things like microwaves and dishwashers and TVs, all those kinds of things. Some of these might not even have the ability to be managed, and they might pose a security risk if they are out of date. A cybersecurity firm can help identify items that could be exploited by the bad guys out there, before it actually happens, and can then inform your managed IT provider of how to employ a fix before it's too late. So this is called vulnerability scanning, and it's becoming increasingly important to utilize regularly. We used to do it maybe annually, and now it's more important than ever to really try and do it monthly or even daily if you can. The cybersecurity team can then find issues, and then the managed IT provider can then fix those issues. This leads us into another piece of security that has evolved over time, and that's threat monitoring services. So I remember about 15 years ago when it was widely considered standard to simply make sure that you had things like the best antivirus on your machines. And if you had that, it was generally, you were pretty well set. But then we've seen that turn into endpoint protection that doesn't just look at the software signature, like who it's written by, but the actual way that the code is executing and how the program behaves and how it's being used. And now it's become pretty standard to have 24/7 monitoring of your endpoints and network. It's just incredible the change that our industry has undergone in such a short period of time. In most instances, a managed IT service provider will partner with an outside cybersecurity specialty firm that provides the actual cyber monitoring services for your network and devices. When you think about the amount of expertise and bandwidth required to actually hunt down and identify cyber threats, your average managed IT provider just simply isn't going to have that on their own staff. So that's why they have to utilize a partner like a cybersecurity firm where that's all they do. They just focus on cyber threats. So they'll provide the actual monitoring, and then they will alert the managed IT provider once they've seen something that looks suspicious. And then the managed IT provider can then kind of be the boots on the ground, if you will, in actually employing the fix. So this brings us to the next topic, and that is incident response. So If we take another trip in the Wayback Machine, we'll remember the times where responding to an incident meant using an anti-malware program to remove a virus from a computer. And maybe if you were extra zealous, you might have wiped the machine and reinstalled the operating system on it brand new. It's really not that simple anymore. Now these really nasty threats, they can really sink their teeth into your systems and to your data, which is really the critical thing here. So today they will exfiltrate your information, which is taking it and putting it somewhere else, and then they lock it up and they make your systems unusable. We have things like cyber insurance to help cover the huge price tags of ransomware and the fallout of all the downtime and the recovery that's involved. And we have forensic specialists that specialize in identifying what happened after the fact. And then we have your business just trying to hang on. When it comes to responding to an incident, a cybersecurity firm will typically take the lead in eradicating and tracing a threat. And then your managed IT firm will focus on just helping you keep your business up and running. This is truly a tag teamed effort in these cases that can be very scary for a business if you don't know how to navigate it. In some cases, the cybersecurity firm can even eradicate the threat themselves without even involving the IT support team whatsoever. But the IT provider might need to help reset passwords or wipe a computer in the event of an actual threat. The managed IT partner might generally also need to help set up things like additional networks or computers that can keep your business running while you're dealing with eradicating the rest of the threat elsewhere, and kind of run two separate things at the same time. Responding to an incident is when you'll understand the power of leveraging close-knit relationships between a managed IT service provider and their cybersecurity partners. There's a lot to gain there when they're just familiar with working with each other. Another area worth covering would be when it comes to policy management and compliance. I have helped a lot of businesses with reviewing and managing their security policies over the years. And one thing that I always found really interesting was that there are so many businesses out there that write a policy and then they don't align the slightest with what is actually happening in their business. Maybe they are completely missing a piece of technology to enforce the policy, or they've written the policy and they never actually even thought about enforcing it. It just always baffles me. It seems like it happens because people are using a template that they found and they needed to put something in place, but they don't really even understand the policy, or they don't know how to actually enforce it. So it ends up being a piece of paper that means nothing. When you write a policy for your business, you need to ensure that it actually aligns with your business's capabilities for enforcement, and also make sure that it's actually realistic. Like, is it something that you would really do and subject your customers or your employees to? A cybersecurity firm can assist with identifying the right controls to put in place for your business, and a managed IT firm can help enforce and manage the actual controls around the policy. Cybersecurity solutions can also be used to help monitor and, in some cases, enforce controls also. And in most cases, your managed IT firm will usually be the one that's deploying and managing those tools. At the end of the day, you need to understand what standards you and your business partners hold you to, and your managed IT partner can bring in the right resources for controls and monitoring from a cybersecurity perspective. And last, but certainly not least, managed IT services and cybersecurity services work together when it comes to providing user training and access management. I've always found it interesting how we put all of these controls in place for monitoring our systems and blocking traffic with firewalls and controls around file permissions, and then we give all of our employees unfettered access to communicate with anyone in the world via email. It kind of sounds funny when you think about it like that, but that's really the world that we live in. We need to be able to communicate with everybody in order to actually do our jobs, but we also want to do it safely. And that's why training your staff is one of the most critical things that you can do, because we really are giving them access to the world. Managed IT service providers for a long time have worked to control permissions to solutions, but it's becoming trickier than ever when we look at the number of places that our data can reside. So more than ever, we are relying on complex cybersecurity systems to help enforce controls around our data. And with our data comes the need for increased awareness amongst our employees on best way to protect themselves and the types of threats that are out there. These threats are evolving, and so we're needing to evolve our way of thinking as we go. Continuous training and improvement is a must. Managed IT services and cybersecurity services work hand in hand now more than ever before, and it's only going to become more intertwined. Thanks for watching today's video, and if you would like to learn more about how your business can better leverage cybersecurity services, click the link in the description.